going to spend a few minutes talking about the greaseless method of cooking. And all meat has natural animal fat, including fish. And because of how Lifetime Cookware is engineered, we do not need to add any oil, butter, Pam when we're making all of our meats, including fish. So what we want to do, it's pretty easy. First thing we do is turn the burner on to a between medium and medium high. I would caution you to stay closer to medium on most stoves. And let it preheat 3-4 minutes until we take some water and drop it in the pan. And when it rolls around like a ball of mercury, that's exactly the temperature that I want. If I put some water in the pan like that and it just kind of sizzles and evaporates, that's not quite warm enough. So you just want to let it sit maybe another minute or two to heat up. We are ready to go here, and so I've got some boneless chicken breasts, and I've got my bare pan. I'm just going to drop that right into the bare pan and cover for 5 minutes on this side. Now, we're making boneless chicken breasts. Pork chops you can make this way, steaks, hamburgers, fish. All of those different things have slightly different timings to them, and obviously meat doesn't come out of a factory, so some of it's bigger, some chicken breasts are larger than others, some steaks are thicker than others, and so you have to experiment a little bit with that. But the main thing is to make sure you have the pan preheated properly, throw the food in, the meat in the pan, and cover it. Now, in this case, as we said, we're going to use 5 minutes, and then we're going to flip the meat and cook another 5 minutes. If I were to take this pan right now and pull the cover off and turn it upside down, the meat's going to stick to the pan, and that's normal. Okay? But what you want to do is make sure you give it that full 5 minutes, because what's going to happen is the natural animal fat in the meat is going to help it release from the pan. So there's no need to check and make sure it's cooking properly. It's going to be just fine, and in 5 minutes, we'll flip it over and do it another 5 minutes. So in a total of 10 minutes, we'll have our boneless chicken breast cooked. And what's neat about this, because we have the cover on, it retains a lot more of the moisture. At the same time, we are browning the meat, which is not something that people are accustomed to. You're going to notice that I'm going to use a metal spatula. A metal spatula is going to work a lot better in releasing the meat from the pan. It's not going to be floating back and forth like that, but you'll see it's very easy to turn over. Now, if you wanted to make, let's say, a beef roast, a pork roast, what I would do is I'd preheat the pan just like I showed you here. I would put the roast down in the pan, cover it for maybe 3-4 minutes, and then flip it and turn it around just in order to get some nice color and browning to the meat. Once it was browned to my satisfaction, I'd put the cover back on. I'd wait for some steam to escape like this, and at that point, I turn it down to low, just like I did when I was making the vegetables. Now that's for roasting. What we're showing you here is what I refer to as pan broiling, where we're cooking the meat at a higher temperature for a shorter period of time. That's what we refer to as pan broiling. When we're doing the roasting, we have it at the medium to medium high until we brown off the different sides, and then put the cover on, wait for some steam to escape just like this, and then we turn it down. If you wanted to make, let's say, a roast chicken or turkey breast or whole turkey, I would suggest, it's a very nice way to do it. It comes out very, very moist. But I would suggest taking the skin off in that case, because when you're doing the roasting on top of the stove, your skin's not going to brown off the way that you may be accustomed to inside the oven. The advantage of doing your pan roasting on top of the stove rather than in the oven is, you take a 2-3 pound roast and you put it in an oven, and that's an awfully big pan, if you will, to cook a small amount of meat. And with Lifetime, we can actually do all the things that we do in the oven right on top of the stove, which saves a lot of energy and a lot of the moisture in the meats because we're cooking it in a covered unit. I like to sometimes refer to an oven and tell people it's a lot like a clothes dryer in that it surrounds the food with a hot, dry air. The only difference is that it doesn't throw your food around circles, but it does the same thing. And when we can do, if we can do that on top of the stove at a lower heat and create a more moist meat and have less shrinkage, I think we're all better off. Okay, so our first 5 minutes are up. And so I'm going to pull the cover off, and you're going to see how much moisture comes out of there. And also, if you look, there's a lot of moisture inside the lid as well. And at this point, we'll take our spatula, we'll slide under the chicken, press it down. You can see that's very easy to pull out. So our second set of 5 minutes is up. So after a total of 10 minutes, we are now ready to pull out our boneless chicken, and we'll throw it on the plate here and show you how beautifully that turns out. Very browned off. Again, even though we've got the cover on, even though we don't have any oil or butter in the bottom of the pan, and still very moist.